What's up, everybody? Joe Fortin here. Today I had a question from a viewer about emotions and vibration, and I explained a couple things to him, and I thought that it would be a good idea to make a video because he really liked the explanation that I gave. And so I'm going to explain so-called positive and negative emotions and how that corresponds to your vibration. And I've got a couple of diagrams here, and I'm also going to explain how this correlates with twin flame union and soul fragmentation and separation and things like that. And I'm going to tie all of this together. It'll make sense at the end. And one of the things I'm going to say to you is that occult knowledge is taught through correlative thinking. So that's why, they give you diagrams, they give you symbols, they give you images, and, what they say is it's like the finger pointing to the moon. Don't focus on the finger or you'll miss all that heavenly glory. There's a few different interpretations of what that means. One interpretation of that is that, like, you don't throw the baby out with the bathwater. So, like, if you're watching someone like me, for example, who's explaining something, right, and maybe you don't like my personality, or, I say something that you don't resonate with, that's fine, like, leave that out, right? But take the stuff that you do resonate with that's, like, helpful and useful, right? You can learn a lot from people that you don't like, And so that's one meaning of that. Another meaning of that is that, like, these symbols and things, they don't inherently mean anything. They're pointing at something. It's like trying to describe the Tao or Source or God, right? You can't describe it within the confines of human language and human mental constructs and concepts, right? But you can point to it, and you can make representations of it, and that's what these diagrams are for. And the intuitive side, the right brain, will draw, connections and connect the dots in ways that your left brain can't do. But it's useful to have explanations that are rooted in, so-called materialistic types of thinking, like logic and stuff like that, right? And so it's useful to explain things in that way. So that's kind of what I'm going to do here. So I'm going to show you a few diagrams, and I'm going to just explain some things. And I'm going to, once again, I'm going to just briefly show you this diagram just so that I can reference it so you can remember what I'm talking about. This is the diagram I've shown in a couple of my videos. Tree of life, right? Inverted tree of life. Sephiroth, Klipot, okay? Heavenly realms, hell realms, and the line here in the middle is Midgard, Earth, right? The convergence of all the realms, right? Light, shadow, and this is also, you see this in the macrocosm, right? In the convergence of the realm and the manifestation of physicality, but you also see this within yourself, and I'm going to explain that part now. So vibration, I'm going to use some terms that have to do with electricity and alternating current. Now, most people that are watching this probably haven't taken like an electrical engineering class, but that, isn't important. I'll explain what you need to know. And it's not a coincidence that Nikola Tesla invented alternating current, and Tesla also talked about the 3, 6, and 9. And, he said, if you want to understand the universe, think in terms of frequency and vibration. Tesla was incredibly intelligent, and he studied esoteric knowledge, and he did a lot of inner work. I think that Tesla was a little bit ungrounded, which is why he appeared to be like mentally unwell sometimes. And I'm going to explain through this diagram, like, kind of why that occurs with people, and just kind of explain like how you can be centered and grounded. So Oh, I forgot to add something to this. I'm going to add a little something. Positive and negative. We're looking at this from the front, so okay. Positive, negative. Positive, negative. Right. Positive, negative. Good. All right. I've explained this before. This is not the first video in which I've used this diagram. So, okay. Top diagram here. This is representing a pendulum, right? You've got your lever here, fulcrum, right? And this swings back and forth, right? And you've got your positive, or, you know, from my point of view, right-hand side, right-hand path, heavenly realms, God, positive emotions, things like that. And your negative, right? Left-hand path, you know, Satan, shadow, hell realms, negative emotions, stuff like that, right? Well, the nature of this existence is that we are always oscillating, right? Emotion, right? The number one thing that we have to deal with in dealing with ascension, right, is always oscillating. It's always moving, right? And the pendulum here, what I was thinking about earlier today, you know, the weight of the pendulum represents kind of like how much energy you have, like how well connected to source are you. Some people have a lot of spirit, right? In Scientology, they would call that theta. I had a guy tell me, you have a lot of theta, right? It means that there's a lot of source energy flowing through me, right? Because my connection to source is strong. Now, vampiric beings, like satanic, demonic beings, right, don't have that. But what they do is they steal that from others, right? They steal that from other beings that are connected to source. So they are kind of indirectly connected to source. But anyway, that's a topic for another discussion here. So what a lot of people try to do is they try to stay over here. And this is what the New Age teachings like try to get people to do, right? You need to understand that, like a lot of the New Age stuff, you need to make the distinction between New Ageism and occult knowledge. What I'm teaching you is occult knowledge, right? What they teach in the New Age is basically a watered down, inverted version of occult knowledge. And it is a Luciferian psyop designed to make you complacent, docile. It promotes escapism, and it promotes, you know, like basically succumbing to authority, submission to authority, right? It's very right-brained and balanced. Watch Mark Passio. He explains this very well. And so, you know, if you're someone who's doing that and you're always trying to be positive like that and you ignore your shadow, you're engaging in spiritual bypassing. And, you know, you're over there like, you know, hanging out with Lucifer, with your buddy like, you know, Vishnu, Butterfly Skywalker, and your other buddy, Rainbow Shante Edamame Treehouse, you know, trying to steal heaven. And, you know, eventually, you know, you're going to have to fall back down to earth. I'll be here when you get back. So, and then you got, you know, the shadow side, negative beings, satanic, demonic beings, you know, and negative emotions and stuff like that, right? And, you know, these people are, you know, basically vampires, you know, and they're hanging out with their buddy like Count Dracula, Night Shadow, Skinwalker, chasing their own tail and trying to feed off everybody because they haven't figured out how to connect themselves to source. But that's cool, you know, everybody has their own path to walk. Now, what often happens if you have a lot of theta, right, is when you haven't learned how to balance yourself, you end up swinging really far to both ends of this pendulum. And what this looks like is bipolar disorder, right? And I'm going to relate this to the twin flame topic too, with like fear-based energy and like abandonment issues and control issues and trying to control the outcome and grasp and hold on to the other person. I'll explain that in a minute. Basically, what goes up must come down. And when you're first starting out on this journey and you're clearing out your emotional body, you're going to end up swinging on this pendulum a lot, whether you want to or not. What a lot of people do is they try to suppress their negative emotions, right? They try to not ever go over here. And, you know, one of the things that happens with people that try to suppress their shadow, like people who can't stand up for themselves, for example, like Mr. Nice Guy, right? Mr. Nice Guy can't stand up for himself, and he doesn't ever want to be mean to everybody or set any boundaries, right? And so he builds up all of this charge, right? He builds up all this negative, or basically negative charge. He builds up all this charge, and he ends up, you know, trying to stay way over here, and he builds up, and he builds up, and he builds up, and then, you know, something little snap makes him snap, and he goes way the hell over here, right? And, you know, he ends up, like, beating the shit out of somebody who, like, you know, cut in front of him in line at the grocery store. You know what I mean? Like, so basically, like, you want to eventually get to a point where you're centered, right? You're balanced. The idea of this whole thing is balance. You want to be balanced in physicality. We're not here to leave our bodies. We're here to be in our bodies, be grounded, and there's got to be balance between these two polarities. Okay, now I'm going to show you a couple of more graphs. This is a sine wave. This is a representation of vibration. Now, people talk about vibration, and they're like high vibration and low vibration, and that's great. And it's, you know, it's kind of accurate, but it's like a half truth, right? We're going to talk a little bit about electrical terms. So you've got your wattage, which is like your total power, right? If you look at a light bulb, you have a 60-watt light bulb, right? That's the total amount of work being done over a period of time, right? Wattage is, you know, basically like energy times time. And so you got voltage, which is electrical pressure, right? Which would be represented by how the amplitude of this, how high the wave goes up and down, right? Imagine this was, you know, representing electrical current, right? Same thing occurs with like water flow, right? You've got water pressure. Voltage is like water pressure. It's like electrical pressure, okay? And then you've got your positive flow of electrons and negative flow of electrons. Positive emotions, negative emotions over time, right? And of course, this point to this point here is called the wavelength, okay, which is how long it takes for one complete cycle. And then you've got frequency, which is how many cycles per unit of time. Usually it's per second, right? Now, when you're in a low vibration, okay, and you're looking bipolar, okay, you're in this form, right? You're swinging up and you're swinging down, and you're swinging up and you're swinging down. And in terms of like twin flame union, it's like when you get that like surge of like that good feeling and that hope. You know, that thing that happens when you watch the tarot readings and they tell you, union is coming. That's this, right? And then when it doesn't happen, you go way down here and you're down in the dumps and you're pessimistic and you're hateful at your twin because they're not doing what you want them to do and they're such an asshole and blah, 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 which is why I recommend not focusing on the relationship. But, you know, most people don't want to listen to me because I don't tell them feel good bullshit. Now, this here is representative of a high vibration, right? And so your wavelength and frequency are, your wavelength is shorter, your frequency is higher, amplitude is lower, but it's the same amount of energy, right? Now, imagine that this is the pendulum, right? This is the pendulum here, right? Swinging way out here like this on the big one here, right? Way out here, really, you know, slowly. This diagram looks like this. In between these two lines, it's going fast, but it's not going that far, right? And so when you get into a higher vibration, you still experience the emotions, right? You just don't experience them with the amplitude that you do in the lower vibration, right? And so they're not as like powerful, right? So when you begin to have state control and stuff like that, it's like you still feel negative emotions, but you don't like, they're not as strong. You don't allow them to run you, and you release them faster, right? And so you move through the different realms of your own being, your own multidimensional being, with more speed in linear time. And, you know, in regards to being in union, this big polarity here, this represents like massive soul fragmentation or separation from yourself, right? These are different aspects of yourself that are in conflict. The closer you get to being centered, the closer you are to being whole and being in unity consciousness. Now, as you increase your connection to source and your amount of chi, your amount of life force that is available to you, what can actually happen is that basically, you see how this amplitude is a lot higher? That can happen sort of here. And so the total wattage, the total amount of energy increases, right? Which is why you're able to have a greater effect on the world around you. I actually like, you know, like, I don't like the way Scientology has its power structure set up, but a lot of the knowledge that they teach is really good, and they have something called dynamics that's really cool. Like the first dynamic is like, you know, yourself, right? Your second dynamic, you know, and these might be wrong, but like your second dynamic is like your immediate family. Your third dynamic is like your friends and stuff like that. Your fourth dynamic is like, you know, your community, right? Your fifth dynamic is like your country or something, right? And your sixth dynamic is like the world. Your seventh is the universe. The eighth is like God, the totality of everything. The more source energy you're channeling, the more at cause over your reality you will be. And the more of those dynamics you have control over. Now, the paradox of this is that the more source energy you're channeling, the more in alignment with the Tao you are. And so in order to have control over more dynamics, you actually have to let go of control from your ego level, right? And that is the same thing that occurs in the twin flame journey, right? Which is that when you surrender and you let go of grasping onto that other person, right? And grasping onto the idea that it has to be them. And if that one particular person isn't in my life, I'm going to be miserable and alone and desperate and helpless and hopeless, and nothing is ever going to be okay. You know, you have to let go of all that. And when you let go of all that and you increase your frequency, increase your vibration, and you get to that point where like, you're just like, you know, you're just like living your best life, whether they're there or not. Guess what? That's when your masculine and feminine energies within you are in harmony. And so because we live in this realm of duality where, you know, basically like, you know, you've chosen to embody like either masculine or feminine, right? When you get into that place of union, physical union has to occur. It's like a law of the universe. Now, like I said, I think it is best to let go of who you think that is. You know, it might be the person that you think it is, and it might not be. It's not important. What's important is that you get into union with yourself and that you raise your vibration and that you become your best self. And when you are your best self, I promise you that you will begin attracting people that, you know, you can totally have that beautiful high vibration relationship with. But you need to focus on you. Stop combing the mirror. Combing the mirror is like when you're looking in the mirror, right? And you've got your comb and you want to brush your hair. Instead of brushing your hair, you go like this and try to comb it in the mirror, right? You're trying to change the external, right? You're trying to control this other person, this other being, and you're not respecting their free will. Instead of going within, right, and allowing things to unfold the way that they're going to, being okay and letting go of the outcome. You let go of the outcome and you surrender, guess what? It has to occur. So that's it. I hope this was helpful for everybody. I enjoyed making this video. I hope that you enjoyed watching it. Let me see. Oh, I've never done this before, but I'm going to put an email address down below. I never really even thought to do this, but I had someone earlier make a donation, and I thought that was really cool. And I was like, hey, why not? You know what? I've been providing videos and knowledge and information for people for 3 years, and I've never asked for anything. I've never monetized my channel. I've never earned $1 from this. And, you know, money is not my... It's far from my main objective. But I do have to eat, and this is what I want to do with my life. So if you would like to make a donation, I'm going to put like my Google Pay information in the description, and feel free to do that. And any donations, doesn't matter how small, are very much appreciated. So I hope everybody has a good day, and thanks for watching. If you enjoyed this video, please hit the like button down below and click the icon to your left to subscribe. New content every week about spirituality and addiction from myself, Joe Fortin. Thank you very much for watching. We'll see you next time.